Welcome to another edition of the Willy Bragg Show. I am your host, Willy Bragg. I hope everybody is doing well today. And I just we're going to talk about the Democratic primary election in New York, the victory of Zohran Mamdani versus Kshama Sawant, the former city councilwoman from Seattle, Washington, who is running in the congressional 9th district in Washington state for Congress, presumably as an independent. And before we start that, I figured that we should always start the program with a little bit of levity. That's going to try to be my new aim right now, is to always start with some humor. So I discovered this last night while I was at work. I couldn't resist, so I'm going to play it for y'all.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that? They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that? They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs like I've never seen before. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when they say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. It's the biggest load that we've seen. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that? They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that? So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, it didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You understand that? Raise your voice! You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that? They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that?
Yeah, that was from a YouTube site called Tim Fassenbaker, and it's called the Trump Remix. They don't know what the fuck they're doing, and referring to the situation in between Israel, Iran, and the United States, and the bombing campaign, and all of this sort of thing, and just taking a very dire situation and putting a little bit of levity to it all. A shout out, of course, to Saku Odo. How are you doing today, my friend? It sucks how compromised Trump is because he has such a capacity to tell things how it is when it isn't. I'm sorry. It sucks how compromised Trump is because he has such a capacity to tell things how it is when he isn't full of shit. Yeah, he was wrong to do the bombing campaign against Iran. I will make that very abundantly clear. But I don't think he has quite the hard on for bombing the shit out of Iran as Benjamin Netanyahu, who obsessed over it. And, some people are worse in this world than Trump. And Benjamin Netanyahu will be one of them. He's actually worse than Trump. So that's basically where I stand on that. Doesn't mean I endorse Trump, but some people are worse. There's always somebody worse than somebody else. I mean, you can always find somebody worse than somebody else. So there is that. Anyway, this past Tuesday, the Democratic Party had a primary for mayoral race in New York City, rather. And it was, Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani were basically the two leading candidates in that race. My understanding is that Andrew Cuomo is not going to run as an independent, which is kind of funny because he got the nomination, Mamdani. And, some people acting like the sky's falling. You got an Islamic communist running for mayor, and he's a threat to Jewish synagogues. There's such a thing. At best, I would say maybe he's, Mamdani, being 33 years old, is basically out of the Bernie movement. He's a product of the Bernie movement. Probably more shit Libby adjacent. Probably more than likely going to be the neo-OC. Now, if I lived in New York, would I vote for him on election day? Considering the choices out there, he's probably the least bad of them all. And he did make a promise that if Netanyahu's genocidal ass ever set foot in New York City, that he would have Benjamin Netanyahu arrested on the spot. Look, if he wins and Benjamin Netanyahu set foot in New York City and his ass gets arrested by the administration of Mamdani, even though I have relatively low expectations as far as trying to push progressivism within the Democratic Party, within that framework, as far as being mayor is concerned, if he can get Netanyahu behind bars, I would be his biggest fucking cheerleader. I want to make that clear. There are no words in the English language that tells you how much I despise Benjamin Netanyahu. The man needs to be arrested. I mean, my channel could get shut down for saying this, but it's my freedom of speech. I have a right to think that Benjamin Netanyahu is a fucking piece of garbage. So, but the point is, you know, there are people that had the conspiracy theory of, oh, Sharia law is going to come to New York City, whatever, the sky is falling, whatever. It isn't. I mean, and it's the old-fashioned post-9/11 style Islamophobia resurfacing its ugly head again. As I said many, many times, that I think that George W. Bush was one of the worst presidents ever. And I am seeing too much a replay of between the year 2001 and 2005 right here before our very eyes. The very policies that carry this country down, flush this country down to the shitter. And I don't want to see that again. But damn it, that's exactly what's being done right now. And so, as I said, when it comes to Zohran Mamdani, as I said, I don't really have a lot of expectations, and that's not to attack him, but I think he's repeating the same mistake that a lot of well-meaning social democrats, democratic socialists, progressives, left, liberal, labor style people who are adjacent to the politics of Bernie Sanders, they're making the same mistake, that you can go and walk into the Democratic Party and change it from within. And you can't. The party remains perpetually conservative because the Democratic Party was never created as a labor party. It was never created as a social democratic party. It was never created as a democratic, it was never created like that. It was an agrarian populist party with populist themes. One can make an argument that because of the institution of slavery, that was a right-wing party in context to the Republicans in the mid-19th century who were, in their way, the center-left before they became right-wing themselves. Now, the Democratic Party has flirted somewhat with social democracy, if you will, by working to push FDR with the New Deal. And let it be known that the New Deal liberalism of FDR did get us out of the Great Depression. The only problem with FDR's New Deal was that it didn't go far enough. LBJ's Great Society, the economics behind LBJ's Great Society, did not go far enough. And since the days of FDR and since the days of LBJ on economics, we've seen the Democratic Party take a turn, such a sharp turn to the right, that Richard Nixon almost seems like an LBJ-style Great Society liberal. That's where our Overton window is today. And I'm going to say it like it is. The Great Society didn't go far enough. So I commend and congratulate Zohran Mamdani. If I lived in New York in absence of a Green Party candidate, considering all the options out there, if you want to call what I'm going to say an endorsement, you know, you can interpret it as that, a soft endorsement, and that, or, you know, critical support, what have you. He's got a beautiful wife, I'll tell you that much. But the thing is that I don't really expect a whole lot out of him, and I expect him to be compromised in the way that AOC's been compromised. I mean, I used to defend AOC, as you know. I think pretty much all of us in the audience have felt the same way, that we used to defend her. I mean, you know, this was during the age of Bernie, and I don't want to. It seems like everything gets adjacent to Bernie in my videos, and I don't mean to be, but and it seems like time has frozen in the last 10 years in many ways, where we're still having that conversation. But AOC, she came in there and she promised to raise a ruckus, and then she became part of the problem. I expect the same thing out of Mamdani. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, you know, we'll see what happens. Now, in Seattle, the 9th Congressional District, Kshama Sawant is running for Congress. Now, she is just like Zohran Mamdani. She considers herself a socialist. Mamdani is with the Democratic Socialists of America. Sawant is with a Trotskyist organization called Socialist Alternative. With due respect to Trotskyists, it's just not my ideological angle. However, I do like Kshama Sawant. And she, you know, thanks to her, when she got elected as a city councilwoman in Seattle, she brought forth a national conversation called the $15 an hour minimum wage. And now there are states where the minimum wage is $15 an hour. Now, I would argue that the minimum wage needs to go higher than $15 an hour. But you got people who think, no, it should stay at what it is, or we should get rid of it, you know. And the people who think they should stay where that is or get rid of it can really fuck themselves, because, you know, $7.25 an hour, and it hasn't been raised since, 2009? There's something wrong with that picture. Something wrong with that picture. And so, but the point is that Kshama Sawant is raising this issue about having these wages raised. Now, she started an organization called Workers Strike Back. And Workers Strike Back basically, you know, is to try to mobilize and to strengthen the labor movement, which needs definite strengthening. I'm 56 years old. I had a union job that lasted 20 years in my life. 7 years ago, next month, I walked out of that job. I was laid off, rather. And so I'll tell you, there's a difference between night and day when you belong to a union job and you belong to a non-union job. You realize how much less rights you have in a non-union job. You realize where your benefits are a little bit more compromised, that sort of thing. And, you know, nobody can tell me any different. Now, you know, I'm not going to get myself fired by saying where I work, but I will say this, that where I work is non-union. I mean, the pay is okay. Benefits are okay, I guess. And management, maybe management's a little bit better. They do have they do take a psychological course and all of that. But you still have less rights than you did previously, you know. I used to take my vacations in the fall every year. The last several months of the year, I will take the first week of each month. I will make sure my vacation time, yeah, first week of September, first week of October, first week of November, first week of December. I did that like clockwork in my previous job, and can't do it like that anymore. But that's about me, and I'm not talking about me. And let's get back to Kshama Sawant. She's right when she said it can't be done inside the Democratic Party. And she may seem dogmatic about it, but I'm with her in that regard. I know I'm being a hypocrite by saying that I consider my words toward Zohran Mamdani as a self-endorsement. If I lived in New York and there was no Green Party candidate running, or another third party of the left running, I would get behind. Well, I mean, when I say get behind Zohran Mamdani, I mean that I would just passingly vote for him, not like go out, campaign and canvass and do that. Now, if I live in the Congressional District 9 in Washington State, I would donate. In fact, I am going to donate, actually. I would donate. I would canvass. I would do phone banks. I would do everything I can to spread the word about Kshama Sawant, because she's basically talking about issues that her mainline Democrat Party opponent will not talk about. We're talking about raising the wages. We're talking about single payer Medicare for all. We're talking about free college. We're talking about, getting rid of right to work laws and expanding union rights. We're talking about, no more arms sale to Israel. We're talking about these things that needs to be addressed. Justice for the Palestinians. Opposition to the military-industrial complex. All these questions. And she's not compromised with a political party like the Democrats. And she's proven to not been compromised as a city councilwoman when they tried to take away her city council seat by what do they call it? They did that to the governor of California. I forgot what they call it. Where right now, and I'm out at loss for. I'm fogged right now, but basically the process of doing an election to make sure recall. That's what it's called. So they were trying to do a recall on her and I think that they spent like $1 million to try to unseat Kshama Sawant. It didn't work. She was able to keep her seat because she was supported by the people. Now, I would like to think that in this age that people could say, you know what, the two-party system is failing us. Do we really need to rely on them? Let's go and give a third party a chance. You would think that, but for some reason, the system is rigged that only the two parties win elections. That's why we need ranked choice voting. If we have ranked choice voting nationally, it would change the conversation. Some people say that ranked choice voting would just make Democrats stronger. I disagree. No, I don't think it'll make Republicans stronger. Actually, ranked choice voting would do this. It would actually reduce the presence of the two-party system. It would probably still be here, but you would probably see less Democrats and less Republicans elected. You may start to see some Green Party people. You may start seeing some libertarians and some, or some independents out there. We need to dump the two-party system. And she is the expression of why we need to get rid of the two-party system. So honestly, if you're on the left, there's nobody to support in that District 9 other than Kshama Sawant. So, but let's go back to, if you don't mind, let's go back to Zohran Mamdani. Because strangely enough, I couldn't find the tweet, but it's there, I promise you. Laura Loomer endorsed Andrew Cuomo. You heard that right. She endorsed Andrew Cuomo. And that is a crazy situation there, you know, to have someone like that. That tells you what a garbage candidate Andrew Cuomo is. He's not like his father. Governor Mario Cuomo of New York State was a relatively decent governor. But his two sons became corporate Democrats, piles of shit. So, you know, just having that said. Anyway, what do we have here? Yeah, thanks for keeping it real, Willy Bragg. And I thank you, sir. Cuomo probably wouldn't run later because it would hurt Eric Adams and increase the chances of Mamdani winning. I don't think Zohran is that great, but clearly the system has its preferences. Yeah. Trump is kind of like if Bush. Yeah, you know, he's more like Bush in his second term than he was the first time around. That's for sure. The AOC endorsement is a major red flag. And it's not the cool kind of red flag, you know, the socialistic red flag. But you're right. You're right. I see a lot of AOC in Mamdani, and I don't want to ever fall for that song and dance again. My argument has been this. I think Bernie meant well, but Bernie hit a brick wall. And look, I don't put faith into Bernie like I used to. I thank him for waking up a lot of people and inspiring. Listen, this online left space that's opened up with a lot of podcasts that's to the left of the Young Turks, to the left of Majority Report, to the left of the David Pakman Show, to the left of Kyle Kalinske, which Kyle Kalinske is probably the better of that large bunch, but he's sort of fallen on the wayside in the last few years. The point is that we have this online space right now, and many of us got inspired by Bernie's campaign. So, you know, even Jimmy Dore, who does not like Bernie Sanders anymore, and his show was around before the Bernie campaign in 2016, but he got radicalized because of the Bernie campaign. You know, we got the Gray Zone. You got Revolutionary Blackout Network. You know, you got all kinds of programs. You know, you got Heartlands Media. You got Due Dissidence. You got I mean, you see a lot of folks. You got you know, Combo Couch, which is called Truthwire. You got I don't know. You got many different programs out there that's you know, that's being true tellers. Savvy Sabs. You got, you know, I mean, actually, one that I recommend. They just changed their name recently. It used to be called Generational Change. Now they're called Revolutionary Change. And honestly, they got. I mean, I've always liked Jen Perlman, but their program's gotten better. So you know, you got a lot of voices out there that don't have to settle for the business as usual mainline Democrat adjacent politics, like, we're going to be the Democrats with the attitude and try to change from within. That Kyle Kalinske strategy of a fierce takeover of the Democratic Party has proven to be a failure. And so I'm going to say it like it is, that with what's happening right now, we need to work together and create a voice in a community where we can actually try to create the change, whether it's locally, whether it's on the statewide level, whether it's national, or even on a global level. So, I forgot to mention some other programs: the Political Matrix, Trailer Park Pundit. You got many programs out there that they're talking about the issues we care about. I'm off on set tonight for the very first time in a while. You got the Secret Show tonight, for example, at midnight with Uncle Warren. So, and I urge every one of y'all to always prioritize independent media. So there is that. Let's see what we have here. Sorry, I'm taking up all the chat. I think that some people think I permanently disabled the chat, and I accidentally did that the other day. It was not on purpose. So I obviously the chat is not disabled now. And what happened was I accidentally programmed it on that the contents for children. And apparently when you do that, it ends up disabling the chat line. And obviously this is not for children. I mean, this is for adults. And I accidentally, as I said, clicked on that part where it says the chat line was disabled, but found out what was happening and got it fixed. So let's see, we got here. Why is Bernie going through the trouble of doing such a media podcast circuit if he isn't going to challenge the status quo in any real way, though? His pride. And again, I am out of the Bernie cult. I don't really. I saw a little bit of the Joe Rogan thing the other day. It was the same old comments he's been saying for the past 10 years. Bernie Sanders. That was my Bernie Sanders impression. But yeah, he's in a rut. And as I said, I don't really pay much to him anymore. I do think he kind of is now. I don't think that was his intention. I do think he is a sheepdog now. So is AOC. And so will be Zohran Mamdani. But I have conditional support, I guess you could say, for him. So this might sound weird, but it would be cool to see you bring on a right-winger that's also done with both parties to discuss different things you can find common ground with. Actually, I've had some libertarian friends, that you want to refer to them as the right, to have them on the show, not to discuss the ideological differences in an antagonistic way between socialism and libertarianism, but where socialists and libertarians sort of do meet eye to eye. And there is a lot of overlap between the two movements. Even some of the really hardcore people who hate socialism, they don't realize that. But the average libertarian would. I'm not talking about the anarcho-capitalists who are just horrendous people. But the average libertarian that I have run across, overall, unless you run across someone who wants to be contrarian. And there's plenty of that on the left. Good Lord, So they got that in common with the left. So I'm actually working on it, believe it or not. We're in an age of strange bedfellows. Oh, that's true. That is very true. Yeah, when the other day, Marjorie Taylor Greene, somebody who I hate, said something that was very sensible. That while we're fighting this war in Iran, we're doing it for a certain Middle Eastern country. Now, I don't like what she's trying to say in regard. She's trying to make it a Jewish thing. I say fuck Israel. I love Jewish people, but the country, but fuck Israel. So that's where I stand. But in her case, and here's the thing: Laura Loomer hates Marjorie Taylor Greene for telling the truth in that regard. Sometimes people accidentally tell the truth, people that we wouldn't like. So I just don't want to make it about to blame Jews for the problems. It's like blaming Muslims for 9/11. It's not a thing. You shouldn't do that either way. So Yo says to Warren, and Warren's going to be on tonight on The Secret Show. Y'all be sure to watch The Secret Show. Thank you. I sometimes can get my Bernie impression right. Sometimes I can't. So, I can do a mean, what's his name? Mitch McConnell. Let's see here. We also have, thanks for reading our comments. I try to read comments. Sometimes I will miss out on the comments because I'm pressed for time. I'm usually doing it before I go to work. I work graveyard shift. I'm off tonight, obviously. All the real ones know Will Bragg. Thank you. I appreciate that. Second do the Willy. Yes. Thank you. So anyway, I'm going to log off very shortly. But remember, folks, we're all in this together. All of us at independent media. We got to help each other because the algorithms are horrific. When Google bought YouTube and the mainstream news media decided that they don't want competition. We're talking about CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, you name it. So they're trying to smash independent media by shadow banning us and doing everything they can to fuck with us, and we need to remain defiant. Anyhow, let me see this remark here, a chat here. The Anglo financial shadow race-based slavery system rests on blaming Jews and minorities as scapegoats. Yeah, and then people go into conspiracy theories and all of this sort of thing, and whenever I hear Mel Gibson, I cringe, but it's so sad about Mel Gibson because he's actually a good actor. He's a good actor, but he's a shitty person for blaming a certain ethnic religious group. Some of the folks are secular in that ethnic religious group, but blaming them for everything. And so, that's no different from people blaming Muslims and, and all that. So, and we're seeing a return of that mindset again. It's like time is repeating itself. So, I'm ranting right now. Desamanta says he's an evangelical. Well, what do you expect? He's more like a hardcore traditionalist Roman Catholic is what he is. Mel Gibson. One of his ex-wives was Episcopalian, the same kind that I am, Anglo-Catholic. The only thing that makes Anglo-Catholics not Roman Catholics is the married priest. And we just don't believe that we need somebody from Rome telling us what to do. But no, he's Roman Catholic. His wife, who one of his ex-wives, who was Episcopalian, basically he told her that he basically called her a false Catholic and said she's going to hell because she's an Episcopalian and not a Roman Catholic. So religious fanaticism, folks. That's what it comes down to. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate I got a haircut today. It's the summertime, and I'm also I think I'm gonna keep it short from now on because I just think I will. I didn't have time to color it today, but that's okay. I mean that's the color staying too, by the way. But I am going to let y'all go, and I hope to see y'all tonight on Extra Bull, The Secret Show. So if you like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment any way if you disagree with what I have to say. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we're, of course, the muckrakers of our time, of our age. We're the ones that can change shit. And also remember to reject corporate media. As I was saying, corporate media is crap. And to always support independent voices out there. And I encourage each and every one of y'all to become that voice. Because if I can do it, I know y'all can. Also, remember to subscribe to the Willy Bragg Show, all my platforms. And always remember this. Free and pardon Ed Snowden. Free Palestine. Free healthcare for all. And preserve the notion of free speech. Until next time, fuck Andrew Cuomo and fuck Eric Adams. And fuck Laura Loomer for that matter. Y'all take care. Good night.